The way that I found out that my grandmother had died was very different. It was 1969, Christmas holidays. This was going to be my first Christmas since I went away to college, so I was excited to come back home for Christmas. My sister would be coming from college. I was in New York and I'd be coming back to North Carolina. My sister was in Washington, D.C., and she would be coming back. And my two younger brothers were in Greensboro in high school and junior high school. So my mother had told us, me and my sister, she said, when you get the bus, because we traveled by bus in those days. We traveled by the Greyhound or the Trailways. Every now and then we took the train, but most of the time when we were making our trips back and forth to a northern city, it was by bus. So my mother said, when you get the bus, don't come to Greensboro. Get the bus to go to Goldsboro because we're going to do Christmas there. Because my grandmother was too sick to travel. In fact, she was bedridden. And so we met there for the holidays. And it was, of course, as you can imagine, bittersweet. It was a good holiday. It was, of course, good to be with my family and to see everyone. And we did our traditional exchanging of gifts. And, of course, we always had great meals at Christmas time. And the days passed. And it was soon time for me to go back. It was time for my sister to go back to D.C., and it was time for me to go back to New York to go to school. So I remember having a conversation with my grandmother just before I was to leave. It was the last conversation that I would have with her. And we laughed and joked about some things. And then I remember the last thing my grandmother said to me was, "Ann, when am I going to see you on TV?" Because she knew that I was in New York studying acting and I wanted to be an actress. And that was the last thing she said to me. When are you going to be on TV? And I felt so bad that I couldn't tell her. I wanted her to see me on TV. And I just said, soon, Grandma, you're going to see me soon. Well, someone took me to the bus station so that I could get my bus back to New York City. And the bus that I was taking was going to go straight through to New York City. You know, it was going to be stopping along the way, but I wouldn't have to change, which was always a good thing for me. So the bus went to Richmond, stopped in Richmond. I didn't have to get off. I was going to stay on that same bus. But it was kind of like a little hub there where the buses would stop and a lot of people would get off and a whole lot of new people would get on. So I'm just sitting there. I'm not thinking about anything in particular. I don't think. I'm just sitting and waiting for the people to get on the bus so that we can go. And I see this little short, round, white man get on the bus and he's in the stairwell of the bus. And I'm not sitting all the way in the back. I'm kind of middle ways of the bus. And I see that man, and I'm looking at him, and I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to do because he just seems a little confused. And he has a card in his hand. And he looks down at the card, and then he looks up and looks around the bus, and he looks at his card. And then he says, with a very heavy southern drawl, Is there a John? Is there a John and Washington on this bus? And I say, yes, sir, that's me. I knew he was having trouble with the name. Everybody did. My birth name was John Ann Washington. I was named after my father, John, John, but the middle name was Ann, Ann. So people were always confused about that name. Where they should they be looking for a woman, looking for a man, a boy, a girl? What? Who? John Ann Washington. So I had said, yes, sir, that's me. And then he looked at his card and he said, they want you to get off this bus. They want you to take the next bus back to Goldsboro. Your grandmother died. And then he turned around and got off the bus. And that's how I found out that my grandmother had passed.